So quite an event yesterday. Obviously, we had a big move after the Fed, but after the stock market closed, there was a flash crash of sorts in the dollar. But I just want to focus, kind of bring back, first some of the dailies, bigger picture stuff, to see where we are. Because after the last 2 days, I mean, at the end of all this, things are kind of back more or less where they were, right? Which is fortunate and unfortunate, but I'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to look at start with the euro. Might as well start with the euro, because I want to point out just how big of a level this is. Here's the weekly chart. You look at something like this, it does put things into perspective. Where we reversed from, okay, and where all this is taking place does happen to be at a confluence of all these, one a median line and two downsloping trend lines, and that's an important point. Yes, these are downsloping trend lines. Okay, that's important. So it's support, but within a downtrend. Okay, so don't, you'd rather have, obviously, to buy you want to have a bull trend, but obviously you can see the kind of action that you can get off of such a big level. And then when we get to the daily chart, this red trigger line and this median line, I think, are going to be super important as we move forward. Those are levels that, ultimately are, to me, really kind of the bigger picture trend defining levels. And it would be really great if over, say, the next 2 trading days or so, if we can get up to the red line, because that would be the month open at 111.80. Okay, now I don't, have any idea if we're going to get back up there. Judging on how the market snapped right back to where it already was yesterday, it doesn't really seem like it. But in any case, we'll take a look at some of the former, some of the former moves like this and times like this, and kind of see, what happened, in the past. Jesus, this thing. Hold on. All right. All right, so here's the daily chart. So we got that. Want to stress, too, that, if we do end up making a new low, it's 15-minute chart. I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart. If we do end up making another low, then this slope line, the one that got the last 2 lows, which is the same slope from all the way back, from here, okay, from these 3 levels, these 3 pivots here, that's going to be support for another low. Okay, just keep that in mind. Now, right now, funny enough, we've gone all the way from slope resistance last night. I think I pointed that out at the time, all the way back to support. And again, support within a downtrend. So here we are, here, and here, of course. So we could very well bounce off of this. I think we do. I've been tweeting that. I think that we get back up to 108. Again, the median line here is where you're going to probably encounter resistance. It's a big level. It was the breakdown level really here in early March, and it's been support and it's been resistance. So that median line to me is super important. I would definitely keep this on your euro chart, your whatever intraday chart, whatever you're looking at, and those are the February 3rd high, the February 9th low, and the February 19th high. Okay, so I would keep those that pitchfork in line or in mind. Okay, now when we look at the 15-minute chart, it's pretty interesting where we've stopped so far. Right, this is the slope. Get rid of this. Kind of get rid of the spike because it distorts the view. This is the slope, the bullish one that we looked at before yesterday's insane move, and here again is the long-term line. So we're at a confluence here. So if the euro wants to rally, it kind of has to do so like right here and right now. Otherwise, I don't really have much of a bullish setup, to be quite honest. At first last night I was thinking that if we came back, we'd probably try to put some support in on former resistance here, but that did not happen. Liquidity is kind of like non-existent out in FX right now, it seems, so markets are just taking out everything. But again, if we're going to rally at all, then this would be the place to do it. Okay, right here, right now. So, or maybe not right now, but you get it. Right now, price-wise. And again, 108. So that's what I'm looking at with euro on short and long term. Okay. With the dollar yen, it's actually been a lot cleaner as far as so pretty amazing that the slopes here have worked just as well as they have. This chart is unchanged. I haven't not changed this from when I posted it over the weekend, and you can see the resistance up here, washout, okay, year open, month open, parallels, just a ton of stuff here to send dollar yen to yet new highs. Okay, and I have a feeling that that's what's going to happen, and the dollar yen probably wants to go up for the next couple weeks. Again, the very bullish tendency, okay, for dollar yen and for yen crosses in general over the next 2 weeks, okay, as the fiscal year in Japan comes to an end. That's kind of one of these things that comes around every year, obviously, right? But it's reflected in the seasonality, and dollar yen does tend to go into an April high, very early April high, and then the time to sell, to sell yen crosses and to buy yen. That's when you get a really good time to do it. All right, and again, take a look at the dollar yen seasonal chart, and here it is. Right, you can see over basically every look back, seasonals, whether it's 5, 10, 15, or 20 years, very consistent. And when the dollar yen, tends to enter a more bearish, more bearish market right after the Japanese fiscal year end and the new fiscal year. So that's something to look out for. It's going to new highs. Testing this perhaps, very interesting that the upper parallel actually intersects with 123.16, which is a big level up at the very, very end of March, very beginning of April. Okay, so when we look at something like this, that's why I wanted to get long dollar yen. When you have moves like this, these huge washouts, kind of tough to put out, the order. I was hoping to get it, catch 119.90 on a pullback overnight. That was the idea. And tight risk under the Asian session low. At this point, no idea if we're going to get down there again. At this point, you're getting up into resistance actually from these former resistances and supports. So we could very well get a pullback in dollar yen from up here at 121.10. So while I just told you that I'm actually quite bullish dollar yen 2 weeks out, you very well may actually look for a short here towards the end of the week, okay, with resistance at 121.13, daily reversal happening to coincide with, as I said, the former median line and former resistance turned support. Okay, and you actually have this little trend line here. Over the next, well, they don't really intersect, I guess, per se, but you might get a chance to short in here tonight somewhere, 120, something like that. 121.50 stop, take it down for 60, 80 pips or something. So I'll investigate that and see if there's a trade tonight. Pound dollar, holy cannoli. So here's the, actually, why don't we look again, why don't we go to the bigger picture chart. When you look at a weekly or something, it's not a whole lot changed here, right? Hourly chart's a different story. 143.50 is still just an absolute huge support, okay? I was kind of hoping that we'd get, the beginning of the week here, we'd get down to 43.50 and, have a washout of sorts, and then, be able to turn bullish on pound dollar and especially pound yen to take advantage of year-end effects in Japan. At this rate, I don't know if pound's going to make it to 43.50 or not. I have no idea. This is the short-term chart. Remember this channel that we were following, right? And you can see here, this is obviously very short term. It's a 60-minute chart, okay? But you can see here, when you get this low, in fact, this low would probably be probably about the middle of the channel, wouldn't it? But when you get it doesn't really line up with anything, but when you get the low, you see the previous lows were spot on this thing, okay? When you get a low like this, before, support, that's an important behavior change, okay? That's your very earliest possible warning that something else is going on, right? Now, you don't really know at the time. It's not necessarily a trading signal, okay? Because you don't really know at the time that, the market is going to turn higher. You just know that it's running out of steam, all right? Then you get the rip. Now what you do, this is the next step in the process. We're going to look for support at old resistance, okay? And again, this is down sloping, but if you get support turning in, or former resistance turning into support, then you've got something to work with, okay, as a potential, potentially getting long. So with 143.50 still very much a possibility, but with the little behavior changes we have here, I do think it's worth taking a peek at a possible pound yen setup. And let's do that here. Okay, remember, this is the weekly chart. This is the slope that we were looking at. And here we have, you can see, ding, ding, ding. There we go. All right, so you can see where we came into yesterday. Here's the daily, okay? So we did end up getting a heck of a reversal off of the first big slope line that was talked about in the special report that I did over the weekend. And since then, guess where we've traded? Up to the median line, ding, down to lower parallel, ding. Okay, now in this case, I say that you want to buy in uptrends on, on upslopes, right? We actually do have upslope here, okay? And it's this. It's just, goes way far back. It's the same slope as obviously September, and then of course February. And don't forget, we still have daily reversal support here. Even though we broke below it yesterday, we still have it right here, okay? So then when we go to the hourly chart, this is the chart I put up last night. Talked about maybe getting support at 78.20.50. Well, you know, in this market, everything's getting blown through, so we ended up dipping down here just now to, what was that, 77.85. And yeah, so we've got a possible support, you know, here from, again, this downsloping support, which was support early, very early in the week on Monday. Okay. Now, Elliott Wave wise, this fits really, really nice as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. With an A and a B, and then working higher in a C wave, but that would probably end below this level because we've already gone so far down here in the proposed B wave. Okay, there are other possibilities, including this whole thing being a triangle from here. Okay, that's kind of part of the problem when you trade with Elliott. There's just too many options. It's better, I think, you know, with trading wise, you want a little more cut and dry, a little more black and white, right? So that's why we're so heavy on median line analysis. It's like, do you have support, yes or no? Is it upsloping, yes or no? Is it, you know, downsloping, yes or no? Blah, blah, blah. So with pound yen, we'll watch it closely. If we can start to get some traction on the upside, then, you know, we might have something. Okay, I'm not in a hurry to get long pound yen or anything like that. Especially since, you know, dollar yen itself is actually coming into some resistance, but it's something that I'm going to track very closely because, look, if we start to, you know, even this range here, this is kind of the crash, you know, flash crash or whatever. So, but even the range of 180, you know, to 178, I mean, even that's a decent, well, it's a great range. Okay, so we could be trading between, you know, little trades here and there between roughly 180 and roughly 177.50, which I have marked down here as possible support as well. And if I look at the daily again, hold on. If I look at the daily again, then this, you know, this slope could very well be in play again. Okay, so we will keep that in mind. You know, just so you know, that slope also, look, that was support here too. Okay, right down here on the 22nd. So the line does have some influence, it seems. All right, now a trade for the other side of the yen, one that actually could play out on the bear side, CAD yen. This is something I put up 2 days ago. We were talking about tracking for a top near 95.75 amid all the hoopla yesterday that was going on. This kind of got lost in the shuffle, I guess. But, you know, if we can come back to here, back up, CAD yen that is, back up into resistance, which at this point would probably be about 95.50, then this is something that I would also consider on the downside. Okay. Again, you've got a rally month open, parallel rejection. Let's see if we have anything before then. No. I would still wait for something up here. Okay, 95.50. So nothing to do with the second, but keep it on your radar. Euro yen. Same levels continue to influence, it seems. Right? We've had this pitchfork for... Fernando's got a good question. I'll answer that in a second. The rally yesterday, again, stopped right at the pitchfork. Okay, so, you know, these levels continue to follow them because they continue to provide some gold. And then short term, we are at we are so far at least bouncing along what appears to be a pretty decent support line. You can see this goes through all the lows except for the low, right? So euro yen, I'd pay attention there. Again, all these things are really short term. There's nothing that I would really want to just put on right now because, you know, again, mentioning the liquidity and everything, and the moves are just a little too erratic to get excited about a specific swing idea at this second. Okay, so when we talk about different pairs, CAD yen, pound yen, Fernando asks, if pound yen is bullish potential and CAD yen is bearish potential, what happens with pound CAD? It's a good question. But I do want to say that a lot of times when you have, when you have pairs that, say, two yen pairs that look different, the likelihood is that one of them is just going to be straight up wrong, right? So you could actually have pound yen continue to break down and CAD yen, also break down, so you'd be right on CAD yen and wrong on pound yen. Doesn't necessarily mean that pound CAD's going to be good, but I'm glad you brought it up because there is an interesting pound CAD chart. Remember this one? This is the one I put up several days ago, talking about potential for some sort of a low. Pound CAD sitting here, it's trading below this now, all right? But we do have CAD news tomorrow, so we could get an interesting reaction. There's nothing I would want to be doing right now in pound CAD, but I keep this on the radar because look what happens here. You have the market trade up through the top of the parallels, okay? Typically when you get something like that, it means that when you return to the lower parallel, you have a better probability of holding, all right? Now, so far we haven't really held. Okay, we dipped below yesterday but closed above. That's actually a bullish sign, but here we are today again, back below. So, with this, there's no hurry to get in on this trade, all right? One, we have no idea if it's going to work. Two, you don't really have a short-term bullish pattern. You have a 3 here. And 3, you've got news tomorrow. So if pound CAD were to do something like dip down here on news and then recover, do a reversal bar on a Friday, that would be something that I'd be very interested in trading for the next week. All right, so we'll keep that on the radar. Another one to look at, or at least to know, here's the weekly chart, by the way, of pound CAD. Right into a top, coming into a level that could provide support. Okay, it's the midline between the median line and the upper parallels, and actually crosses through the high here back in 2011. So it could provide some sort of support. You probably get a better, something better there. A little lower. All right. Okay. Another one I want to watch is pound Aussie. Pound Aussie. You know how much I like the year opens and all that stuff because they do tend to work pretty well. I mean, all you have to do is look at recent years, okay, to see that the year open price is a pretty good pivot, right? I mean, last year, for example, we had that head and shoulders. We broke down, never really reached the target. We had some insane trade all over the place. But then the times when we traded up in September, year open, reversed. Year open in November, reversed. Well, this year we started off on a bullish note, okay, broke higher, again, into the upper parallel. And guess what? We've got the lower parallel and the year open, which coincide basically next week, okay? So this might be one of the better setups just because of the combination of year open and in the lower parallels, okay, with pound Aussie. potentially coming into a very important support, which is in like 300 pips. Okay, it's at 90.44. We're at 93.12 right now, but as we know, pound Aussie can move 300 pips pretty quickly, right? So that would be something to keep on your radar as well. If we go to the short-term chart of pound Aussie, something Mike, I think, was tooling around with here on the short-term stuff. Still bugs me that we shorted up here and then we're stopped out, but whatever. Move on. Pound Aussie. It looks like this is becoming former support is becoming resistance. Right here. And it was kind of nothing for a while, but then it's been pretty good the last couple days. And then if we move into the short-term chart, this might actually be a decent market to trade. The impulsive decline, and then get a little pop higher and look to short some pound Aussie. Right? So what's this high up here? Is that 94.60? If we were to get some resistance to work with, what do we have here? What do we have here? It's 61.8. If we were able to get maybe 94 to short against 94.60 for a breakdown continuation into the year open early next week and then flip long, sounds like a nice play, doesn't it? We've obviously got the momentum and everything with us at this point with pound Aussie. Let me see what we have on here. See if I got a short-term trend signal. Hold on. Sorry, it's taking a while. It just, all this stuff has to load. Okay, so we did. This is great. All right. So you can see I got a short-term trend signal here, the red dot. Do they always work? Of course not. But when they work really well. You can see the blue ones here, blue ones here, blue ones here, right? Red one here, good. These, was eventually good. So we have one here. We have slope. The momentum is the right spot. We've got support 300 points lower. So pound Aussie could be a pretty good continuation on the downside. You know, for the next couple trading days, at least Monday and Friday, and then, you know, and then again potentially coming into huge support for us to flip to the long side down here, 90.50. All right. Okay. So that's something to take a very hard look at tonight. Pound Aussie, dollar yen, I've gone through that. Let's look at dollar CAD. I know it's something that I haven't really traded too much lately, but I found it really interesting where Eileen asking, do you have that for market scope? Those I don't. I just have them for TradeStation. It's just something that I coded on my own. It's a momentum kind of signal alert thing that I like to use. And I'm looking into making I want to make these things available to you, to the SB membership, as like, you know, a value add-on type of thing. But I need to get it coded for Market Scope first, so we have to figure out something there, and I don't know how to code Market Scope, but something that, you know, is in the back pocket, so to speak. All right, so I thought this was interesting when I looked at dollar CAD. You know, when you have these so-called flash crashes like this, it's, you know, it can do a number on your charts, obviously, but if you kind of ignore the spike for a little bit, you can see the slope's been really solid, all right? Really solid at the highs here. Came back, obviously month open, all that, but still follow these slopes. And we have CAD news tomorrow, all right? And you know me, a lot of times the good trade, especially if you're in a trend, in this case, look, dollar CAD's still a broad uptrend, but it's also been in a broad range. So it's a larger uptrend within, you know, a little smaller, but still a pretty big range, been going on since February. So we're entering 2 months here on the range. And we have good slope on the upside, okay? We might have something on the downside. I don't want to really put it out there yet, but I would watch for support tomorrow, okay, after CAD news at these slope lines here. You see where the little circle is? These are basically within the, you know, between the parallel, or the lower parallel and the median line. These are sliding parallels. But you can see that they have had some influence at lows, okay? Are they perfect? Of course not, right? But we have had some lows here. We have had some trade into it, okay? Here, we had a high here, all right? We had some lows on this one here, and even a little bit of resistance here. So, you know, I would be looking at, you know, potential support if you got a pullback lower in dollar CAD tomorrow, all right? And let's see, a little high, in line with these. Might be in line with roughly 26 to 26.15 for dollar CAD. And 26 is the 50%. If we go from here without the spike, it seems to be the right level, 2600 to 2630. So I'd be looking for support around 2600 to 2630 tomorrow. If you got a spike down in CAD. And now look, this is still resistance up here, okay? This is still resistance. And I was talking to someone earlier who was asking me about slope analysis, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, do you think dollar CAD's reverse lower? And I said, well, according to the, you know, the way to read slope, it not necessarily. And here's why. Typically, the big reversal comes when you fail shy of resistance. Okay, so it'd be like if the market were to trade up here, okay, and you know, you come up here, instead of going up to here, you stopped like right here, right? I talked about the pound dollar earlier and the raised floor. Well, this, if you were to fail up here and turn over, you'd have a lowered ceiling. Now at the time, you're not going to know, all right, but it comes in handy later on when, say, after you turn down and you start breaking some support, and you start putting that in as some resistance, you know, then you have, you know, that little piece of information in your pocket telling you that, oh, wait, that might actually be a really important top, which means we're in for a larger decline because we have a lowered ceiling, right? So that's something just to watch out for, or, you know, you'll see it when it happens, but I do want to point that out for the dollar CAD. All right, so what else did we want to take a peek at today? For me, the biggest thing at this exact moment is really euro, right? I mean, it's sitting right here at support. So if we're going to get a push higher, and I don't even know if, I'm not even talking about up here. I'm talking about like back to 108. And I'd be totally fine going long down here with a stop at 105.75 and a target at 108, right? You're risking, what's that, 60 pips to make 130. Could be better, but it's not terrible. So I like euro down here. See how it holds up, obviously, into the end of the day. In dollar yen, I think we get a pullback off of 121.10 or 121.20, but the dip, I say probably 120.40 or so, probably gives us a bigger picture swing opportunity on the upside. And of course, pound Aussie for your non-dollar cross is looking awfully nice to get down to 90.50, 300 pips lower than where we are, and we could trade against today's high with resistance, 93.40, maybe 94. So those are probably the three best things that I've got going right now. Mark saying, isn't the euro yen a better play then instead of euro dollar? Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't like to think about so much the semantics, I guess, of, if this does that and this does that. It tends to screw you up, to be quite honest. It's something I need to look at with the momentum, okay, and see how things are looking. I mean, you are right that it could be a better play. It's just that everything right now is such a dollar story, right? Oh, you're talking about, Mark's talking about yen weakness. Yeah, of course. But that's an even bigger play, right? So that's going out. So I'm talking about like a trade for the next day, the next 2 days, right? I hear what you're saying with that. And, dollar yen, though, we're going to face resistance up here. So, with euro yen itself, it's sitting right here at support. So, I mean, you could try to go long with, a very tight stop, say below 128.20. We're at 28.60 now, and, try to target, I wouldn't really target the median line again. I'd probably target 130.50, okay, up in this region, which is kind of where we finished the day yesterday. So that could give you a very decent opportunity. The thing that intrigues me a little more so about the euro dollar at this point, Mark, is the fact that it's sitting right at this lower parallel, which was support before, right? So, we're holding here. I mean, we've been testing it all morning, testing it during Europe, testing it during U.S. We're basically trading at it right now. We've got former high here. So something that interests me is just the fact that we're there. And again, we do have the really short-term slope support too. Okay, awfully short-term. This is super short-term, but something there that's worth watching. So that is that for now. Are there any specific questions that I could entertain? Fernando asking about crude oil. Yeah, sure thing. So let's take a look at crude. Okay, so there's two slopes to watch. Okay, you can see this one here, the median line that we have been bouncing off of. And, oh, Mark, I'll get to that in a second. Crude oil, yeah, with the, bouncing along this median line. So what you'd be looking for here is for the market to find resistance on the same slope, and it actually has. You can see the slope here where this high came in. I had these lines running actually yesterday, and it's pretty interesting that the market actually came right back into and hit on that dollar flash crash, ended up finding resistance right at the midline between the upper parallel and the median line. So this is the slope I think to work with, Fernando. Resistance here, so it's definitely vulnerable along this slope. This is the down slope, so tough to say. If you get lucky, you might be able to sell up here at some point, okay, because that would be the ideal sell point, the upper parallel, but I don't know if we're going to get there at this point. Questions on pound Kiwi and Aussie Kiwi? Yes, sure. Actually, I didn't really look at Kiwi, and we should, because so here's Kiwi, here's that slope that we've been following on the daily chart. Median line, daily reversal support to daily reversal resistance in one day, one of the bigger rallies we've seen in Kiwi ever. Kind of upset that I didn't put a long in because I was really considering going long at 72.95 because of the daily reversal level, but hey, whatever. And then 75.28 was daily reversal resistance, okay? So Kiwi's in an interesting spot. I mentioned earlier that both Kiwi and Aussie have declined impulsively here. You can see the Aussie dollar decline, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Kiwi dollar also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right? So the commodity currencies are set up to get a bounce here, it seems, but then sell off pretty hard again, all right? Now, in these markets, a bounce could be like 100 pips, okay? So understand that. Kiwi resistance probably up near 74.60, 74.80. Aussie resistance probably upwards of 77.30 to 77.50. So the view on those is kind of similar. Obviously, Aussie's been a lot weaker here recently, as shown through Aussie Kiwi, which has not worked out. Unfortunately, we had a pretty nice looking slope here, and it just did not pan out. So, sometimes that just happens, whatever. It did not work out. But it doesn't change the fact that all the momentum I referred to is still awfully pathetic. And I was kind of, maybe it was jumping the gun a little bit. But this is as I talked about earlier, you can see the double bottom here, okay? Failed breakout on the double bottom. Pullback, the big outside day. I was like, we're going to buy the dip with a really tight stop. First target was here, but we were looking to target potentially a very, very huge reversal. And this was, I just talked about this with other the other pairs, but this was a raised floor here. So the trade had a lot of things going for it. You know, just didn't work, right? So you can have all the information in the world lined up, and it just doesn't pan out. But I'm going to still, you know, I want to keep my eyes on Aussie Kiwi as we progress over the next few weeks, because I do think there'll be a great opportunity here. Again, we're at the bottom of virtually the all-time range in Aussie Kiwi, and for all intents and purposes, this thing is basically traded in a huge range for 40 years. Okay, and we're at the bottom of that range now. So reversal risk is high in my opinion. Just not able to catch, or was wrong to get on board at this point. It just didn't work out. That was Aussie Kiwi. Pound Kiwi. I had a question on Pound Kiwi as well, so we'll look at that. Again, the outlook for Kiwi dollar and Aussie dollar are quite similar at this point, and we're looking at possibly, you know, some dips, a bounce from today's decline, but then followed by additional weakness as those declines are impulsive. So strikes me interesting when we look at Pound Kiwi and Pound Aussie. Okay, we've got two pitchforks to work with here on Pound Kiwi, and we do have somewhat of a confluence down here at about 97.60, and again that's on Monday. Pound Aussie seems to be a little cleaner, okay, with a little better slope. When we look at the weekly chart, here's a weekly, and this could be something that, you know, provides support for a much bigger turn higher. Again, the risk here is we topped before resistance, so, you know, potentially Kiwi offers a huge surprise. Kiwi's been extremely Jekyll and Hyde lately, right? I mean, the range has been absolutely, you know, volatile, but you do have possible support to keep an eye out for. And again, that comes in over the next, well, this week it would be down to about 97, 97 to 97.50 the next 2 weeks. So really, it's the same as on the daily. Okay, so you might want to keep an eye out there. But those are my views on Aussie and Kiwi in general, the both of them together, right? Is that we have impulsive declines in these currencies, 5 waves, they're very clean, and that they're due for a bounce, but that bounce is likely to meet stiff resistance, okay? And what's more so is that we have very clean 3-wave rallies, A, B, C, okay? A, B, C. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to fall off the face of the earth, because you could very well spend additional time in the range. We could go something like this, decline, rally, decline, and then have additional strength or sideways trading. You know, we could have something like a triangle playing out from the February low, right? It could very well be like A, B, C, D, E, and then we go lower. Okay, so I think these are going to come in very handy. The slopes, the downslope lines, especially this one that's in dark and red. So that may be eventually where the next big sell comes for Kiwi. Okay? Alrighty then. So thank you all tons for visiting. I hope that the sound on this one actually records or actually is transferred over to the file, because I do want to get this up on the website for archived purposes and everything, so that you guys can watch it and everyone else can watch it that didn't get to watch it. All right. So I'm going to end it there. I think part of the problem is that I've been going too long, and that the videos, they won't render the sound. That's at least as a guess. I don't know. So I'm cutting this one off at 50 minutes. Everyone have a great rest of the week. I think the first official day of spring is tomorrow. It sure doesn't feel like it in New York. It's like 30 degrees here, and it might even snow. So that's a little depressing, but hope wherever you are that it's a little nicer, and and looking very much forward to some nicer weather. Okay. All right, guys. All right, take care. Thanks, Pooja. Thank you very much. It's great to see you all. All right, have a good one. Bye.